Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seeds of Knowledge program. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Hi. And just wanted to give a few seconds to introduce what is the Seeds of Knowledge. Well, it's a series dedicated to exploring timeless spiritual principles through moments of reflection and dialogue. It is brought to you by Solitude, the Spiritist Center for Spiritual Living. I'm sorry, I'm missing my own name for our center, Glaucio. My apologies. But today I am so happy to be here to have Glaucio Pessoa as our guest, and he's going to be speaking about, I would say, a very difficult topic, right, Glaucio? When the home hurts, understanding tragedies in the family. And as we know, every family carries sometimes unseen currents of energies, emotions, ties, positive, negative. But in this presentation, which is based on Joanna de Angelis' book, Family Constellation, Glaucio will examine how those hidden psychological and spiritual dynamics can and often do lead to conflict, suffering, and even certain what we call tragedies, right? The misfortune within the family. I would like to introduce Glaucio. If you don't know him, he is a good friend, right, Glaucio? I think we've known each
Yeah,
other for a couple
almost
of
like
decades.
yeah.
Yeah. And he's been active in the Spiritist movement for over 35 years. He is currently the co founder of the Caritas Spiritist Center, but this is just his latest engagement. He is a volunteer in many different activities, and including serving as the vice president for the Christian Spiritist community of Atlanta and as a director of outreach of the United States Spiritist Federation. His special interests are in activities around technology applied to the Spiritist dissemination, as well as English translation, and music. Glaucio, it is so good to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for giving the opportunity to have this conversation. And it is great when we prepare ourselves for talks like this one, because especially when you work when you're studying the works by
Yes,
Joanna de Angelis, because you see how much can be applied to yourself. That's very
absolutely.
important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I personally appreciate you taking on such a difficult topic. And let's get started. I will be in the background and we'll come back as you end your talk today. Thanks, Glaucio.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing great. So, Marcia provided a great introduction to chapter 15, for chapter 25 of the book, Family Constellation. And the title of the chapter is Tragedies in the Family. And it is quite interesting because human beings, we live together, and it is part of our natural evolution. And when I talk about natural evolution, not just material evolution as this physical body, physiological evolution, but especially progress, spiritual progress. And however, we see here that there are always challenges, and the challenges are important. And despite each one of us doing our best to promote harmony, and there's always difficulties, always challenges, and as part of our experience as we deal with one another, we have experiences that are joyful and some experiences that are tumultuous and even painful. The home is a miniature version of society, and it reflects both the growth that we have to promote the growth that we need and also conflict as well. Interestingly enough, Kardec in the Gospel, chapter 14, the title of the chapter is Honor Your Father and Your Mother. When Kardec talks about corporeal relationship, so Kardec explains to us that blood ties do not necessarily create bonds between spirits. The body comes from the body, but the spirit does not proceed from the spirit, since the spirit already existed before the formation of the body. Therefore, the parents do not create the spirit of the child. They do nothing more than supply the material wrapping, the body, although it is their duty to help the intellectual and moral development of their child in order to further progress. So it's a very, it gives us a different perspective of our families because now we beyond being a cell of society or a miniature version of society, now we see the home as this collective of spirits who each one of them has his or her own spiritual background. And then when all of them are together, they have these relationships, and these relationships they might express themselves by affections, but they also uh, could be affection, can be also indifference sometimes, and also past aversions. They come along as well. And again, Kardec reminding us that our ties with our family, they go beyond the blood. And again, we're all together, and each one of us have a story from previous lives. And and this experience is a continuation of that story. And again, depending on the kind of background that new conglomerate of spirits might present different experiences. The One of the first things that Joanna reminds us in chapter 25 is that the growth, the true spiritual growth, it comes from our inner conquests. So nobody's going to get there for us. It is up to us to do this self-realization. It is up to us. Even as we're living in society and as a family, which is part of that society, each spirit is going to be responsible for his or her own spiritual development. And as and to as individuals striving for perfection, then we're going to have difficulties, and difficulties that we can experience individually or as society as a whole or as a family. And the interesting thing is that these experiences, they are tools, they're instruments for learning, they're instruments for our perfection. And painful, of course, they have different kinds of them. And the ones, of course, there are so many joyful experiences that we have as a family, but also a lot of experiences are painful as well. And the caveat is that a lot of those difficult experiences now they might trigger hidden emotions from the past. Again, Kardec reminded us that each one of us, when we reincarnate as a family, each one of us has a background. And of course, that background, which is got to be based on affinity or aversion. And now that the family is going through any kind of trouble, then all kinds of hidden emotions can come to the surface. Emotions like anger, hatred, and also moral weaknesses as well. Moral weaknesses that the long list of all of our moral imperfections that we can start from our pride and our selfishness and all the other derived imperfections as well. Now, even though again those experiences together are painful, but it is important for them to happen, especially if there is some hurt from the past. So those experiences they are necessary for that healing to happen. And we see that's why we see a lot of times a family member that acts in a very unpredictable and sometimes in a irrational or in a violent manner. And those might come, of course, from unresolved emotional issues that could be from either the current life or from a previous life as well. And then that's when we see so many different tragedies as at a family level when specific individuals of the family they have this very intense emotions coming to surface, and again due to different factors even from this life or from previous lives as well. And we see I'm just gonna uh, mention a few examples here. The sudden anger or emotional breakdowns in the family that in families that we see. Some families that have so much conflict between the family members as well. And along the those same lines as well, moral failures, so we see vices in the family as a whole, in several family members, or sometimes the vice of one specific family member that affects everyone else. We see in the US they have a very interest practice which is called intervention, and it's very common in the American culture when a particular family member starts presenting these kinds of erratic behavior that they call intervention, meaning that several family members get together to have a conversation to try to understand what's going on, which helps a lot. But again, well, it's important for us to take that to the next level and understand that whatever behavior that individual is presenting or groups of individuals within the family, they not necessarily come from this life, they can come also from previous experiences. And unfortunately, also we see violence within the home as well, and violence that some shocking violence acts of violence, some true atrocities within the family, which they shock us, and they should shock us because there's no justification, but at least having an understanding from the background again that each family member brings, it opens our minds to understand again why a particular family member might behave a lot of times in such atrocious manner. And also some of the tragedies that we see also is mental illnesses as well that individuals might present, and addiction is another very serious serious problem in families all over the world. A very interesting aspect of the book Family Constellation is that this is actually one of the last chapters. And Joanna, being a spirit with a high level of emotional intelligence, the way she prepared the material, she mentions there's a whole series of chapters that deal with education within the family, um, emotional education, education to live in society, and then she also mentions the need for a religious education in the family, and also not so much tragedies but difficulties in the family. So, and she also mentions cases of drug addiction in the family. So by the time she gets to chapter 25, which is again one of the last ones, she has already mentioned so many solutions that would help. the family not to experience these these difficulties, or at least be better prepared for any kind of domestic tragedies as we see. I like Kardec going back to the Gospel, again, chapter 14 in the Gospel according to Spiritism, when Kardec is a chapter about honor your father and your mother. And actually, it was the instructions from the spirits. And there's a message about children's ingratitude and family ties. And the message, this is an excerpt from the whole message that reads like this. So then, do not reject the child who repels its parents, nor the one who is ungrateful, for it is not mere chance which has made it like that, and then given it to you. An imperfect intuition of the past is revealed by these attitudes. And from this, we can deduce that one or the other has come to pardon or to atone. So, this great reminder by this great lesson by Kardec, and also which is reminded by Joanna, and she does emphasize that in one of the previous chapters when she deals with drug addiction in the family, is that that particular child or that particular family member that is going through difficulties, it should not be rejected, it should not be condemned, it should not be treated with violence or um, um, any kind of imposition. But again, it is a family member who needs help. It is a family member who, for some reason, is asking for help with that kind of attitude. So, if as parents, as children, as great parents or uncles, aunts, or even close friends, if we verify situations of rebellion, in particular family members, difficulties, it is not the time for rejection, because, like Kardec puts it clearly here, there is this imperfect intuition that there's something in the past, that there's some kind of past story. It's kind of like like solving a puzzle. There is, the answer is back there somewhere, and at some point it will be clear. But in the interim, as it is important that the family treat that as a mission. And again, Kardec mentions here that, hey, either someone got offended, and that's why there's this hatred and this ingratitude. But again, someone has to pardon, to forgive, or someone has to atone. So someone has to at some point try to look at things that are higher from a more spiritual perspective, and bring forgiveness, and also understand that also atonement could be as well. So expiation, trying to make the best out of a difficult situation, also trying to make amends. So, great reminder by Joanna de Angelis in the book, and also by Kardec. An important thing is that we suffer on Earth, but nobody signs up to come to planet Earth to suffer. So our difficulties, they are par for the course. They are necessary for our moral growth. And the family is a sacred space for that development, kind of like a classroom. So all those students, quote unquote, and again, this is an analogy, all those students are in this particular classroom together, and there's a lesson for them to learn. The same way that you're in a school setting, and there are different lessons that there is a curriculum for you to learn. So again, as a family, there is some kind of curriculum that those spirits and they have to work together as part. And also in the same using the same analogy here that John the Angelis brought to us, all those family members they have different again different backgrounds and different spiritual levels and to learn together, to learn lessons of love, lessons of forgiveness, and lessons of patience. And we see that in each difficulty that the family encounters, the need for the family members to develop the love for one another, the necessity to forgive, and having patience. So having this bond and then throughout the again throughout the both the joyful moments and the difficult moments to nurture this bond of love, it is so important for us as imperfect spirits to be in that reduced group of people and develop our love, to be able to evolve in a moral sense, to maintain this feeling of harmony, this feeling of love, well, of affection with one another, because that is a beginning for us. It is an opportunity for us to learn. If we cannot learn how to love amongst again, regardless of how many people we have in a family, 3 people, 4 people, sometimes some families are larger than that. But again, we are practicing love in that setting so that as we evolve, we are able to love, to expand that love. So we know that Jesus, he is the governor of the planet Earth. And as such, Jesus loves humanity here, or humanity all over the universe, and then and with a focus on humanity here on planet Earth. Can you imagine you have that level of that such a spiritual level that allows you to have love for everybody and everything on earth. And when we talk about everybody, both incarnate and discarnate, so there's that famous saying that we hear all the time: Jesus loves you, and that's very true. Jesus loves you regardless of who you are, what you do, what you look like, and Jesus will always love you. Um, besides your imperfections, so it's this kind of amazing love. And here we are with so much difficulty to tolerate a brother or a sibling or parents or grandparents or in-laws, whoever is in our family. So again, it's a lesson in love. Also the lesson in forgiveness. An interesting thing is again, when you're in this reduced group of people experiencing as a group, people, there's always opportunities to hurt one another. So having the ability to practice forgiveness within one another, it is a great lesson. And again, there is so many small details in a household. I should say small details, and sometimes like also tragedies as well. But regardless, each circumstance also presents for us opportunities to forgive one another. And with that, with the love and the forgiveness, also having patience with one another. And that's why it's so great for us to have this more of a spiritual view of our circumstances, and especially the spiritual view of the purpose of living in family as a family group, because those regardless, either those very tiny circumstances or those incredible complicated tragedies that might hit a family as well, those are all opportunities for us to practice our qualities. And Joanna reminds us very appropriately that, again, the same way that in the same classroom, we're going to have, again, using the analogy, within the same classroom, we're going to find students who are very, very applied, very studious, and very focused. And some students are more lax, and actually, some students are rebellious. Again, they're all together in the same classroom. And that's the situation we might find ourselves in. Most likely, that's what we find ourselves in a family as well. We are all spirits in our different levels, but on average, on Earth, unless you are a missionary spirit, on average on Earth, we're all about the same here. So again, and again, in the cell of society, of this unit of the society called family, it gives us an opportunity for us to learn. We are in the in our reincarnations, we in our several reincarnations, we're always going to reincarnate with those group of people that we need to be in. So regardless of the family or the type of family that you have, that we have applied to me, of course, as well. So we're always in the best in the best classroom for us. So having this spiritual uh, um, this, this spiritual paradigm, it opens up our minds and of the blessing that we have, the blessing that we have to learn as much as possible with one another, and just the same way also that in the classroom we can help other students uh, progress. Why not in the family? And using the same analogy here of a classroom. Um, for instance, I might be someone, might be one student might be better in math, another student might be better in history, another student might be better in English, and another student might be better in physical education, even PE. But again, it's an opportunity for everybody to help one another and to learn together. So that same analogy, that same principle applies to the family as well. So if I have some qualities that I have already achieved, so as a chance for me to share that with my family members as well. In the same way also the family members help me in that regard. And Kardec in the Spirits book, Kardec reminds us of the need for us to evolve. And in question 779, Kardec, the spirits inform us that the question from Kardec was: do humans contain a force within them that propels them forward on the path of progress, or is their progress only the product of education? And the spirits answer Kardec here that indicating that human beings develop themselves naturally. Human beings do not progress at the same rate or the same manner. This is why the most advanced help others move forward through social contact. And the best social contact that we have is within the family. And this is our chance that we have, first of all, for us to progress, because it is the law of the universe that we progress. It is the law of progress. It is one of the laws of the universe. Everything in the universe progresses, not only from a physical standpoint, but especially from a spiritual. Us as spirits, we also follow that law and we progress as well. So we develop ourselves naturally with these experiences, but we do not all evolve in the same way, at the same rate, or in the same manner. That's why we all have our own backgrounds that get exposed once we reincarnate in the family nucleus. And again, and Kardec reminds us that it is the most advanced help others move forward through social contact. So it is an opportunity for the family members to help one another during that reincarnation. So again, for each one of us, the family that we are reincarnated in at this time, it is the best family. It is the best combination of family members that we can think of. So yes, that lovely, the loving father, loving mother, loving brother, loving sister. Yeah, that was part of the plan. But also that difficult family member, that difficult sibling, um, that uncaring, sometimes uncaring parents that we might have. They're part of the master plan as well. So it is up to us to make the best of the opportunities that we have to help us evolve and then help all those family members evolve as well. So again, those conflicts that we see in the family, they are opportunities for moral progress than punishment. Nobody, we have this idea sometimes that we are here on earth that we are being punished. It is a misconception. We are actually here to learn. And so this is our opportunity to do it. And of course, the family plays a very pivotal role with that. When tragedy strikes, and tragedy will strike in some shape or form, it tests the first of all, it tests the strength of those family bonds. So again, Kardec was talking about the family bonds by affinity and the family bonds by aversion as well. So whatever the category, oh, and also Kardec mentions of indifference. Sometimes you are reincarnated in a group that they're more indifferent. There's not that there's a affinity or aversion. It's just you know the bond is still forming. So regardless of the type of bond that we are experiencing, when difficult times come, it's going to test those. It's going to test the strength of those. And the first thing that Joanna, um, the first advice here is the need for dialogue within a family, being able to talk to one another, and this is part of more part of the exercise, and having emotional honesty as well, and do not let the hidden resentment corrode the relationship. Again, be open, have this, be emotionally open, even like the term emotionally fragile. Again, you're exposing yourself, but again, do not hide any kind of resentment, and to avoid the blame, because also the tendency is to start the famous blaming game and start pointing fingers. And again, that just deepens the wounds and just complicates matters. And also the emotional repression as well. So again, we have these hidden feelings within the family, and we keep those to ourselves, and they only hurt the family bonds. And again, they lead the family members to feel estranged, and of course, they foster misunderstandings and um, lasting bitterness. And of course, our concept as spirits, as spiritists, to understand that when we talk about lasting bitterness, there is a chance that in aversion, a grudge might actually go through not just staying in one particular life, but we might take it as to future life. So again, having this open dialogue and have this honesty with the family members is super important. So, in other words, avoid the silence. So you repress your feelings, you repress your emotions, or you just keep to yourself and you suffer yourself. And also the other side, the flip side of it is avoid the the blaming game, and having the open communication and empathy. Another point is the strengthening of the family bonds. So we should not wait for the problems to arise to try to uh, nurture our family bonds. Actually, the preparation for both the good times and the bad times, it happens continuously. So important for us again to go back to the exercise of learning to love, learning to forgive, and to be patient. So cultivating this affection, understanding that again. having this more of a spiritual standpoint, understanding that our family members are imperfect like us. So having trying to nurture the affection with that, even if we feel that we have an aversion to a family member, there's a reason for that, either from this life or from our previous life. So trying to address that, and also promoting cooperation, learn to work together and to support one another. Not that it is not possible to achieve those uh, during moments of crisis, but it is much better to have that experience, to strengthen those bonds. Again, cultivation, affection, cooperation, and mutual support before the problems arise, and also learn how to have honesty and the emotion transparency as well, so that again there is the relationship is mature enough from the family members, and whenever the challenges to strike, and most definitely challenge is going to strike several times, so to be in a better position for that. A lot of times a lot of times it might happen also that family members try to hide their struggles and even distance themselves from the family, and bring happiness outside of the home. So again, that's not really that's not the best approach, because again the reason why the family's together is to learn from one another, and not try any kind of escapism, which is possible, especially when it comes to spouses. So there is this risk that during moments of crisis, uh, at moments of difficulties in the relationship, some of the family members, in this case here, more specific to spouses, that they may try to look for an illusion elsewhere. And the problem is that nobody can run from the personal reality, or should I say, from a personal reality, from a spiritual standpoint. And because there's a risk, because you'll be going to be acting against the moral laws, and whenever we go against the laws of the universe, disillusionment always follows, uh, and as opposed to the realization of fantasy. In the book Heaven and Hell, there is a very interesting example of Claire, and she was a spirit who was she was narrating her experience. It's a very interesting chapter. She was adulteress, and what she mentions, she teaches us, she narrates to us from the spiritual world, is that we carry within ourselves our heaven or our hell, our faults, graven on our conscience, are legible by all when we enter the spiritual world, and we are thus in our own judges, since it is the state of our soul that raises us up or casts us down. So again, if we are following fantasies outside of the home, and even if that becomes quote unquote a secret that nobody knows, doesn't matter. We're going to be carrying that with us, carrying our fault, and we're going to be our own judges. Uh, and the flip side of it is that when we are courageous enough, and we act within our morals, then we're going to have the state of the soul that's going to raise us up, as opposed to bring us down. Um, and just to finalize here, so Joanna reminds us of the sanctuary that is the family. And despite our hardships, the family, it is still the safest and the most important environment for our spiritual growth. Of course, we live in society, but the family is this unit of society where we live together, like this school for us. Tragedy also always arises in some shape or form, and all the families, they go through troubles. I mean, And it's funny because when we we see pictures of our families and members and friends in social media, everybody looks so happy. But even the happiest families that we see in social media nowadays, they have their struggles as well. So tragedy will hit everybody if it's not hitting right now. So again, there's this need to unite and have work together as a team. Um, and especially have the compassion and this camaraderie and recognize that nobody not try to be a hero because nobody can be the hero, but also recognize that everybody else has their limits as well. But again, just like any team, if the family works together, or at least tries to work together, the results, although the results might not be perfect, but they're going to achieve the best results. um, Joanna de Angelis also reminds us that religion and spirituality they are very important. And again, there's a whole chapter about religious education in a book, Family Constellation. So she keeps hammering on that aspect. And to finalize here, Kardec's again, Kardec going back to the Spirit's book, Kardec reminding us. Kardec actually asked him in question 779, what would be the effect on society if family ties were relaxed? And the spirits indicate that it would collapse into selfishness. And again, so never, even in the most difficult times, even if we are living in in difficulties, if we're having difficult relationships in our families, just a reminder for us the importance for us to keep those family ties, or at least work into keeping those family ties strong. Because again, we do not want to lapse into selfishness, because that actually goes against our our own growth. And never forget, right? Again, always pray. And if we have a family member or we're going through a difficult situation, pray and meditate as well. Study as well. Again, the book. Of course, we have so many books uh, that at our disposal. Of course, the codification and the psychological series by Joanna de Angelis that helps us a lot. So again, study and having this communication with the family, having compassion with one another, and having faith. We are immortal spirits. Whatever we're going through right now, it will come. It will shall pass. So regardless of the tragedy that we're going on, it's just another lesson that we're learning together, and it's going to be one of many lessons that we experience as immortal spirit in our path uh, to perfection. So that's a summary. And I invite, of course, you have conversations just like these, but I invite everybody to read the psychological series of Joanna de Angelis. Again, there are so many insights about family, about ourselves as well. So I cannot recommend enough.
Thank you so very much, Glaucio. What a great
Uh,
conversation. And I agree with you, right? At a minimum, let's just talk about it. We and Joanna, especially in her books, I don't know if you read them, Glaucio, Empty Lives and A Full Life, right? Those are almost what I call the bookends. That it was translated back to back a couple of years ago, and they really gives the sense, right? What we need to do to feel to live a full life, but then the emptying of our lives that we're going through, especially as you joked about how nobody posts photos of unhappy families, right? Everybody's happy,
well,
everybody's smiling.
Marcia, but thank you for the hint. I have not read those books, so thank you
Oh,
for the hint.
good.
I'll read them
Yeah.
next. Thank you.
Yeah, they're very good, right? And they're not part of the psychological series. As we know, the psychological series has 16 books, right? But those two were published afterwards, but they also bring a lot of what you find in the earlier series. And I just find it very important. The message, as Glaucio brought, is a message of authenticity, of embracing our roles as parent, as children, as siblings, that the whole family constellation, each one of us have different roles within that, but how important it is to embrace and understand the the great beauty of it all, despite challenges, despite conflicts, despite all the array of items that you discussed today. But wanted to say thank you so much, Glaucio. I hope you're back to talk some more about relevant topics such as this one. And
Looking
for
forward to
everybody
it.
else, all right, I really appreciate that. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time. Thank you so very much, everyone.